This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Vietti Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you. As we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by a good friend of ours, Vietti. He does such great work over at CBS Sports. Along with that, his own podcast, Awake and Rake Podcast. We're going to be chatting it up with him about what we've all been seeing here in the postseason. We did this before the end of Mariners versus Blue Jays, so we were taking a look at whether or not some of these series can get a little bit tighter. Obviously, the Blue Jays helped out with that cause on Wednesday. Can anyone stop the Dodgers? Do the Brewers have any chance of being able to claw their way back into this series? And just what makes both the Seattle Mariners, who are up 2-1, and the Dodgers so tick, and what we could expect if those two teams do meet up in the World Series. In the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis for both games on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via the 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, everything is powered by Edge Boost. Edge Boost is making sure that bettors are able to have access to their funds whenever and wherever. With Edge Boost, 100% of gambling transactions do get approved, and when you go to edgeboost.bet, make sure you utilize that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That'll get you a dollar for dollar match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's take a look back at what we saw in Game 3 of Mariners versus Blue Jays. Tried to find some trends and tried to see how the Blue Jays made this a series again.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
13-4, the Blue Jays mollywopped the Seattle Mariners, and this was after they got down 2-0. Julio Rodriguez was able to go deep for his third home run in the postseason off of Shane Bieber, and the Biebs would settle down from there. It gives up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings. You would have Uriel Rodriguez give up sole home runs to Randy Arozarena and Kyle Raleigh. For Raleigh, 63rd home run between the regular season and the postseason. Arozarena, his first of the postseason, but by then, the game was very much out of hand as George Kirby on the other end for the Seattle Mariners. 8 runs allowed in 4 innings, including a trio of bombs. George Springer, his third home run of the postseason. You had Vlad Guerrero Jr. get his 4th of the postseason, and Andres Gimenez, that first shot in the 3rd inning, that's his first of the postseason. And then Caleb Ferguson would later on give up a home run to don't call his name, Alejandro Kirk, 3rd of the postseason. Ferguson gives up 2 runs in his 2 innings. Carlos Vargas also gave up 2 runs in an inning, and Luke Jackson, he gives up a solo home run in his 2 innings of work, that being to Edison Barger, his first of the postseason. Braden Fisher, Mason Flaherty, they're both able to give a scoreless inning, and for the Seattle Mariners, still up by kind of 2-1 in this series, and we're seeing a lot of road teams being able to get the job done thus far. As between the ALCS and the NLCS, the road teams are 5-0, so that has been very, very prevalent, to say the least. We've had 2 overs and 3 unders in the championship series, with, if you had the Dodgers versus Brewers game number 2 over, that was a little bit rough sledding for you. And overall, if you take a look at the last 7 days in baseball, dating back to last Wednesday, we have had just 2 overs to 7 unders. So, I mean, the only 2 overs have come in this series. We've been seeing a lot of underwhelming action here thus far, and favorites just 4-5 on the money line in the last 9 games of the postseason. So, that's where we're seeing in baseball right now. That's what we all got in Mariners versus Blue Jays. So, we'll talk about that series a little bit more, talk about the dynamic of Brewers versus Dodgers, and just what we're seeing out of Los Angeles right now with the Vietti. He is joining me next right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Vietti Family Podcast.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Vietti Family Podcast, and it's always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Danny Vietti aboard. He does such great work over at CBS Sports. Take a look at this amazing game that we all know and love of baseball. Additionally, I know that he's doing a great job with the Wake and Rake podcast. He does that with former World Series champion Will Middlebrooks. They do an excellent job there for Danny. He's doing a little bit of everything over at CBS Sports, and you're able to follow him at his first and last name on Twitter/X at Danny Vietti, last name spelled Vietti. And Danny, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure being on with you, Greg. I'll tell you what, though, like these MLB playoffs from start to what we are now here in the LCS has been electric. So if there's anybody out there that is either not a baseball fan, just a sports fan, and is not watching this, they're missing out on some fantastic sport all the way through.
Oh, they certainly are, and I can tell you right now, it does look like we've got a clear favorite to win the World Series, and that'd be the LA Dodgers, who are up 2-0 on the Brewers, and I'm not sure how you've taken a look at this series, but you know me, Danny, I'm a man from the great state of Wisconsin, and I'm willing to admit when the team that I root for is just flat out getting beat, and it just looks like the Dodgers right now are on a totally different level.
I mean, when you think about it, the Dodgers won a World Series a year ago with 0 starting pitchers. They had half of a Yamamoto who was coming off of injuries during the regular season. Glasnow was on the injured list. Kershaw wasn't available, albeit we know how Kershaw is in the postseason. They were relying on Bobby Miller and Walker Buehler. Walker Buehler was, essentially let go this year by the Red Sox. Bobby Miller was in the minor leagues this year after getting demoted. Like this Dodgers team, without a single solid, truly at the time, a single solid starting pitcher that was at all able to pitch deep into a game, they were able to hoist a trophy 1 year ago. And now here in 2025, it's the same lineup. They have Ohtani, they have Betts, they have Freeman, they have Muncy, they have Kike Hernandez, they have Will Smith, they have Teoscar Hernandez. It's the same lineup. In fact, probably even a little bit better because they're a little bit healthier. And they also, by the way, have a healthy Blake Snell, who, when healthy and when he is on, is probably the most dominant left-handed pitcher in baseball behind maybe only Tarek Skubal. They have a healthy Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who is a Cy Young candidate this year. They have a healthy Tyler Glasnow, who has one of the highest strikeout per nines in MLB history, as long as he's healthy. And then Shohei Ohtani, who's been phenomenal on the mound, maybe not so much with the bat recently, but was phenomenal against Philadelphia in his outing. So, this team is stacked. And when this team is not just stacked, they also have health on their side. It's going to be an uphill climb for anybody, whether it's the Milwaukee Brewers, whether it's the 1998 New York Yankees, whether it's the 1919 New York Yankees. This team is just stacked top to bottom.
Yep, and I think the big key that you brought up there with the pitching, something else that needs to be mentioned is this billion-dollar bullpen with Roki Sasaki and company. They've gotten out of there the guys like Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates that clearly weren't getting the job done there, and I felt like that was the one real weakness for the LA Dodgers going into the postseason. And when you're able to throw Emmett Sheehan for a few innings out of the bullpen, heck, I know that Tyler Glasnow is going to be starting here with the Dodgers coming back home, but they threw him out of the bullpen for a game as well. That makes this team all the more lethal as well, in my opinion.
It's like, what do? You start asking yourself, okay, what adjustments do we need to make? And Milwaukee has done their darndest trying to grind out at bats. I mean, they were able to finally, in my opinion, Dave Roberts made a mistake by not sending Blake Snell out there for the ninth. But once they got Snell out of there, they were finally able to make a little bit of noise against Roki Sasaki, and then Blake Trinan was able to close the door game one. But it's like, what adjustments do you need to make? It's tough when you have two starting pitchers, at least through the first two games, not just commanding the strike zone, but keeping their pitch counts down. I mean, Blake Snell, like I just mentioned, he, in my opinion, should have gone out for a complete game opportunity. He was at, I think, 104 pitches through 8 innings. Yamamoto last night, 110-something pitches, and he was efficient. So it's like, if you're Milwaukee, you're doing your best to grind out at bats, but when you have pitchers that are not just striking out hitters at an elite level, but are also commanding the strike zone and throwing strikes at an elite rate, it's just a really tall task. And Milwaukee has had a phenomenal season. They mix and match and platoon and play incredible defense. But when you have this much star power and this much health on your side, it is just grueling. I mean, it's a daunting task for Milwaukee. I almost feel bad for them. Payroll situation, the talent situation. I mean, it's the Los Angeles Dodgers right now, and then a whole lot of space in between, and then there's the rest of the league.
Yep, I am right there with you. There is no disagreement there, and we've been seeing that on full display here in this series and here in the postseason. As Danny Vietti, he does such great work over at CBS Sports and the Wake and Rake podcast, joining me on the Baseball Betting Show. And then the Dodgers most likely going to be facing off against the winner of the Mariners and Blue Jays series. And if the Brewers somehow, some way come back, that'll be a story that I will be telling my children's children one day, because, man, this does not look great for the Milwaukee Brewers, to say the least. But I mean, things are not looking great for the Blue Jays either. We are doing this ahead of the Game 3 on Wednesday, but how do you take a look at what the Mariners have been able to do? Because I thought that they had used every bullet in the chamber just to be able to get by the Tigers in game number 5, and that they would probably just concede game 1, try to maybe get game 2, and somehow, some way, they go to Toronto, they take both games, and they look like the team in the league that has the best chance of being able to take down the Dodgers if there is one.
Yeah, I've been so enamored by Seattle's pitching against Toronto, because when Toronto faced the Yankees last week in the divisional series, I mean, it seemed like it was going to be a very tall task to be able to slow this Blue Jays lineup down. I mean, they were clicking on all cylinders. You see Seattle, especially after that extra innings game, and it was a long series, and you're thinking, man, okay, you got to go Bryce Miller game 1. And I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, how is Seattle doing this against a Toronto offense that was one of the best in baseball throughout the entire season? And I took a deeper dive on what the numbers are looking like. For the first 2 games of the LCS, Seattle pitching this postseason, they are throwing fastballs at just a 22% rate. And that's compared to what their regular season rate was as a staff, which was 34%. So they're throwing fastballs 12% less amount of the time. They are throwing sinkers increasingly compared to their regular season rate. And they're also throwing sliders much more increasing than compared to their regular season rate. They're throwing sinkers and sliders about 50% of the time. You're only seeing something straight, and by something straight, I mean a 4-seam fastball, 22% of the time. So, on average, an at-bat that goes 4 to 5 pitches, you have one opportunity, one pitch to see a ball that is coming in straight as a 4-seam fastball. And I was trying to figure out, okay, is this what's striking the Blue Jays, differently? If you look at Fangraphs and you look at what's called run value against pitches, the Toronto Blue Jays were one of the best teams in baseball. They were 8th against fastball this year in run value against fastballs, 8th in Major League Baseball. If you look at what their stats were, or their run value was against sliders in the regular season, it dropped all the way down to 22nd in baseball. So they didn't hit sliders nearly as well. They hammered the fastball in the regular season. And so what the Seattle pitching staff is doing is they are not throwing anything straight. They're throwing sinkers in on their hands. They're not allowing Blue Jay hitters to get extended. And when they're not going inside, they're throwing sliders away. And Toronto, to their credit, they're not striking out at an absurd rate by any means, but they're not making loud contact, and they're not getting the exit velocities that they were in the regular season. And it's all because of Seattle's strategy of pitching in on the hands with sinkers and sliders away.
Yep, and it's been incredibly impressive what we've seen out of the Seattle Mariners pitching thus far. And we do know that in Game 4, it's going to be Luis Castillo going against Max Scherzer. And just, how much do you think that the Blue Jays are up against it right now? Because with Scherzer, he's going to be making his first start since September 24th, and you never want to doubt a guy that has been in the biggest of stages. We all remember what he was able to do for the Washington Nationals in a closeout game against the Astros many, many years ago in the World Series, but this feels like an advanced form of Max Scherzer, and it just feels like it's inevitable that we're going to be getting Mariners versus Dodgers in the World Series, barring something extreme.
It does, but let's not forget, I mean, these series can go long. You know, we thought the Arizona Diamondbacks were seemingly done against the Philadelphia Phillies a couple of years ago, and the Diamondbacks were able to come back and win Game 7 in Philadelphia. So I kind of sound like a broken record and by saying it's an uphill climb, if you will. But we have seen crazier things happen in Major League Baseball. We've seen a 3-0 comeback before as well. So, you know, Game 3 will be telling. But if you're Toronto, you got 3 games in Seattle, and then you got 2 games at home. Ideally, yes, you want to go away, win in 3 straight, get the momentum on your side, come close it out. But in a more realistic, more humble way to look at things is, okay, let's go take a series in Seattle. There's 3 games on the road. Toronto won as many series this regular season as anybody in baseball. You don't need to sweep them. Just take 2 or 3. Maybe it's the Max Scherzer game. Maybe it's the next two games. It doesn't matter what order you do it in. Just make sure that you win the series. Win 2 out of 3. Because then you got 2 games back at the Rogers Center. It was quiet the first 2 games, and that's all because Seattle's offense came alive and their pitching was dominant. But just get this series back home. Give yourself an opportunity in front of the home crowd to get that momentum back on your side. And then maybe that pressure goes directed away from the Blue Jays back toward the Mariners. Because the last thing you want to do as a team is blow a 2-0 lead, especially for a team like the Mariners that have never made a World Series before.
Yep, with the Seattle Mariners, it would be epic if they're able to make the World Series. And if it is the Mariners that do face off against the Dodgers, would you give them a chance to be able to dethrone them? Or do you think that this is much like the uphill climb that we're seeing right now with the Milwaukee Brewers and much of what we saw with the Philadelphia Phillies in the previous series as well?
Yeah, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves too much, but yes, to answer your question, yes. I mean, Seattle's pitching staff is as elite as anybody's, and that's including the Los Angeles Dodgers. You kind of go head to head. It's like, Blake Snell and Yamamoto are phenomenal all-star Cy Young contender pitchers. But you look at Seattle, I mean, Logan Gilbert's an all-star. George Kirby's an all-star. Luis Castillo, albeit not an all-star this season, he's a perennial all-star. Brian Wu, an all-star. Bryce Miller looked phenomenal Game 1 against Toronto. You look at the bullpen. Matt Brash is elite as a setup guy. Edward Bizardo has been phenomenal all season long. Andres Munoz, one of the most elite closers in baseball. Lineup-wise, yeah, Seattle probably doesn't match up as well as Los Angeles because depth-wise, health-wise, I mean, the Dodgers are an all-star team offensively. But if this lineup can get hot and find a way to get to that Dodger bullpen, which Toronto has not been able to do here in the LCS, Mariners absolutely have a chance if they can just get to the Dodger bullpen, because the Dodgers have been able to just coast by these playoffs really without even having to use any of their middle relief men. It's been Snell, Yamamoto, leave it over to Glasnow and Sasaki. I mean, I could probably count on one hand how many times that we've seen an Alex Vesia or an Emmett Sheehan or a Blake Trinan, Anthony Banda in this postseason, because the Dodgers just haven't forced to use any of those relief pitchers. So again, don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but pitching wise, they absolutely match up good enough against Los Angeles.
Yep, and I do think that we are in for a good next few days of postseason baseball, and then we'll have ourselves a World Series. Danny, this is the best time of year as the sports equinox is coming up. I know you've been doing a great job of looking at the baseball front all year long, so let the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, this next week's going to be exciting. NBA starting up, World Series next week, the LCS, a lot of content down the pipeline on CBSSports.com, and my personal handles at Danny Vietti.
Danny does such an amazing job taking a look at this great game of baseball, and every single time he joins me, he lends such great insight. So a big thanks to Danny for joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis for our 2 games on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we catch them all.
Did you know your credit card points and miles can lose value to inflation? Credit card companies often reduce the redemption value of your points and miles. Now, imagine a credit card with rewards that can grow in value. With the Gemini credit card, you can earn Bitcoin or one of over 50 other cryptos instantly with no annual fee. Every swipe at the store or gas pump earns you instant rewards deposited straight to your account. Plus, sign up now for a $200 Bitcoin bonus to kickstart your rewards. Visit Gemini.com/card today. Check out the link in the description for more information on rates and fees. Again, if you're looking to invest in Bitcoin but don't know where to start, the Gemini credit card makes it easy.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Vietti Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Danny Vietti. He does such great work over at CBS Sports. Take a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So a big thanks to Danny for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis for both games on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_D1. We only have 2 games on the board, so that makes things easy there. We'll start with that Blue Jays versus Seattle Mariners game, and then we'll dive in on Brewers versus Dodgers. So we start things off with 9:55, 9:56 on the card, with it being Max Scherzer going for the road Blue Jays against Luis Castillo for the Seattle Mariners. As of right now, no numbers up on the board, mainly because you just don't get an opener until the end of the previous game. But that said, I've got my handicap with the Seattle Mariners. I did place them on the money line at a -134, so I'm going to be willing to lay up to a -133 there. And then I did make my total a 7.7, a 7.5 or less. I'm going to be in on the over, and 8 or higher to the under, and would need at least a +135 to be able to dive in on the Toronto Blue Jays. For the Blue Jays, they're just facing an uphill battle with Max Scherzer not having made a start since September 24th, and even when Scherzer was consistently starting, 5.19 ERA with 2 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Not giving up a lot of walks, still above 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but really less than satisfactory. He has been in the big game before, but now he's over 40 years old. He's an aging guy, and I just really don't feel good about his chances coming off of just a really long layoff in general. And then on the flip side for Luis Castillo, he's pitched 7 scoreless innings here in the postseason, actually 6 scoreless innings, because he went 4 2/3 against the Detroit Tigers in his start, and then he had 4 outs out of the bullpen in that game number 5. Between the regular season and the postseason, has a 3.42 ERA. A little bit concerning that his swing and miss stuff has been down, though. For the season, 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. That is a career low for him, but for Luis Castillo, just with how pitcher-friendly Seattle is, he has been much better when he has been at home rather than when he's been away from home. As for Luis Castillo, in terms of home runs allowed per 9 innings, when he's been on the road this season, he's been giving up right around about 1.2 home runs per 9 innings. That goes down to more like 1 to 1.1 at home, 2.60 home ERA, 4.71 ERA on the road during the regular season. And for the Seattle Mariners, even though you've got some home run hitters in and Eugenio Suarez, 50-plus home runs, not really hitting for a lot of average. Big dumper Cal Raleigh, you've got him with 62 home runs here between the regular season and the postseason. They saw plenty of guys that move the line. Like, you got a home run out of Julio Rodriguez yesterday, but he for the season has been hitting above a 260. Dom Canzone, recognize that he's had his postseason struggles along Victor Robles, but these are guys that find a way to be able to get on. Randy Arozarena, recognize that he's had a little bit of an up-down all-around start as well, but he's able to give you 30-plus home runs between the regular season and the postseason, above a 325 on base. And for the Blue Jays, they are your number 1 team in all of baseball in terms of run creation since the All-Star break. George Springer, between the regular season and the postseason, 30 bombs with over a 375 on base. Vlad Guerrero Jr. has been white hot here in the postseason. Just 23 home runs during the regular season, but 3-plus home runs here in the postseason. They do get back Anthony Santander as well. And Dalton Varsho, a home run every about 12 or so at bats as well. But for the Blue Jays, they're probably going to need to utilize quite a bit of this bullpen, and you can have a guy like an Eric Lauer coming out there as well. They've had a few starters that they've converted into relievers, but they've been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms terms of bullpen ERA ever since the All-Star break. The likes of Brandon Little, Louis Varland, Uriel Rodriguez, Braden Fisher during the regular season had a sub-350 ERA, but they really saw that ascend post-All-Star break. And for the Seattle Mariners, I just feel a little bit better about the likes of Gabe Spire, Edward Brazardo, Matt Brash, Andres Munoz, all those guys being able to give you a sub-3 ERA. With Luis Castillo, I do think that he's prone to giving up a few runs here, but don't like my chances with Max Scherzer either, so need at least plus 135 to take a shot on the Blue Jays, minus 133 or better in on the Mariners, and then 7.5 or less like the over, and 8 or higher to the under. And then we've got ourselves the Brewers versus Dodgers game, 9:57, 9:58. It is old undecided on the bump for the Brewers, and Tyler Glasnow goes for the Dodgers. Dodgers are between minus 188 to minus 199 favorites, plus 162 to a plus 170. Then around the Brewers, we'll just give you the run line right here, between plus 108 to a plus 115 to lay run half with the Dodgers with a total of 7.5. Over is minus 115, the under is minus 105, and give me the Dodgers on the run line. Anything a plus money on that run line, I'm going to be willing to take it. You have to think that Jose Quintana is going to be in some sort of a role in this game, whether that be as a starter, whether that be as a bulk guy, and he had during the regular season a 3.96 ERA, but a very alarming 481 fielding dependent. He's a soft tossing guy trying to go up against a Dodgers team that was number one in all of baseball in terms of run creation at home with over 5.5 runs per game, 6.1 strikeouts, and 3.4 walks per 9 innings. Now, for Quintana, 5.08 home ERA compared to a 2.97 ERA on the road this season, so that's a little bit encouraging, but now you have to go up against Max Muncy, who, whenever he's been out there on the field for the Dodgers, the team has been able to average about a run half per game more when he's in the lineup. You've obviously got Shohei Ohtani doing Shohei Ohtani things, and he hasn't even necessarily had the world's greatest postseason at the plate. He does have a pair of home runs, but just a 275 on base. You know that he's going to be able to get it going. Mookie Betts has been hitting above a 300 here in the postseason. Then all of a sudden, Teoscar Hernandez, 4 home runs here in the playoffs, had a little bit of a tough time getting on base during the regular season, but he's been rock solid. Will Smith, he's getting jiggy with it once again after he was on the injured list towards the back half of the regular season. And I mean, this Dodgers team, with being able to bring out of the bullpen the likes of Hiroki Sasaki along with Emmett Sheehan, that really elevates them, because during the regular season they were relying upon the likes of Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates. Those guys just weren't cutting it. You still have the likes of Anthony Banda, Jack Dreher, they're able to go to, but I mean, that really elevates this team. And for Tyler Glasnow, you do have to be concerned about the fact that during the regular season, between the regular season and the postseason, about 4.4 walks allowed per 9 innings, so that is a little bit less than savory, but even with that, this team has still been able to get the job done, because he does a nice job of getting about 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. If you look between the regular season and the postseason for Glasnow, 2.94 ERA, coming off of 6 scoreless innings against the Philadelphia Phillies, albeit he does go up against a Brewers lineup that is number one in the National League in terms of run creation away from home. Not necessarily because of their home run power, the Brewers actually in the bottom half of the big leagues with regards to home runs out of per at pace, as Christian Yelich, the lone guy on the roster with over 23 home runs between the regular season and the postseason. But you look overall, the likes of Yelich, Bryce Charang, William Contreras, Sal Frelick, all being able to give you at least a 340 on base. Caleb Durbin just off of that. Andrew Vaughn in a Brewers uniform and a Brewers uniform only. He's been rock solid. Isaac Collins has been a little bit in and out of the lineup, but he can move the line as well. And the Brewers, to their credit, even though they're probably going to have to throw Quintana, they might go with a little bit of Jacob Mizorowski as well, but I'm thinking we see him a little bit more in game number 4. You do have a lot of guys like Grant Anderson, Trevor McGill, Abner Uribe, Jared Koenig that all gave you a sub-355 ERA during the regular season. Nick Mears has been relatively rock solid out of that bullpen as well, but Brewers are just up against it, against a Dodgers team that I fully believe is the best remaining in the postseason. Semi-total at 7.7. I like that over, and the Dodgers on the run line. And that'll wrap things up for the Thursday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of 2 ways we have fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, the me does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire and whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Big thanks to Danny Vietti. He does such great work over at CBS Sports and the Wake and Rake podcast. He joined me in last segment, and every single day in which we've got games here in the postseason, I'll be with you guys, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.
Did you know your credit card points and miles can lose value to inflation? Credit card companies often reduce the redemption value of your points and miles. Now, imagine a credit card with rewards that can grow in value. With the Gemini credit card, you can earn Bitcoin or one of over 50 other cryptos instantly with no annual fee. Every swipe at the store or gas pump earns you instant rewards deposited straight to your account. Plus, sign up now for a $200 Bitcoin bonus to kickstart your rewards. Visit Gemini.com/card today. Check out the link in the description for more information on rates and fees. Again, if you're looking to invest in Bitcoin but don't know where to start, the Gemini credit card makes it easy.